murder suspect appears in Mt Hagen court. Classes resume after continuous theft at technical secondary school. And construction to begin for a new TB ward.
This is the National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Wednesday's news. Suspect Christopher Johnson Camo, who allegedly involved in the brutal murder of his wife, two stepdaughters and their babysitter 2 weeks ago in Mt Hagen, appeared at the Mt Hagen Committal Court this morning. He was charged with 4 counts of willful murder. MTV's Mt Hagen correspondent Vasinata Yama files this report.
Christopher Camo appeared before Mt Hagen Senior Magistrate Betty Jacobs. Camo is charged for 4 counts of willful murder under the Criminal Code Act. The district court does not have the power to judge a suspect, but will commit the case to the higher courts if there is enough evidence. Jacobs said the district court does not have the power to grant bail, but Camo can apply to the national court if he wants to. However, the chance of granting bail for Camo, who killed his 2 stepdaughters, his partner and the children's babysitter, is minimal. Camo is yet to testify to police or in court his reasons for killing the 4 people. The Little District courtroom was packed to capacity, with public wanting to hear the outcome of the hearing. People were visibly angry as Camo walked in the witness box. Outside the courtroom, people waited to show their frustrations, but Camo was transported back to the station by police. The court heard that the murders occurred between 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on the 6th of this month at the family home at Kim Power outside Mt Hagen City. The court also heard that the 6- and 8-year-old stepdaughters died of fractured head, while the babysitter and the wife died of multiple knife wounds. The suspect will be remanded at Baisu Jail while awaiting his next court appearance on June 26 this year. Senior Magistrate Betty Jacobs gave police 1 month to gather all the needed evidence and witness statements before the next court hearing. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mt Hagen.
Classes at the Don Bosco Technical Secondary School in East New Britain Province have resumed after the school was suspended for a week. The suspension was a result of a break-and-enter incident where the school lost cash and equipment valued at up to 4,000 kina. School principal Moise Paluku says a working committee has been set up to engage surrounding communities to take care of the school and its properties.
And this was broken into.
The Don Bosco Technical Secondary School has been a hive of incidents relating to breaking and entering. The school has been marred by ongoing theft of school equipment and cash in a span of less than 6 months. Early this month, the school lost yet again over 4,000 kina worth of cash and equipment. The school's administration has expressed dissatisfaction on the ongoing theft and suspended classes for an indefinite period.
And that was really something which brought most of us and all of us in the school, if I could say, down to see how repeated incidents of theft are coming to our school, and we couldn't bear it anymore. So that's why we came up with this complaint and lament to the authorities if they could assist and help.
Following a stakeholders forum last Friday, the parents, teachers, authorities in the province and local leaders agreed to allow classes to resume this week. School principal Moise Paluku says the institution is providing a second chance education to non-selected students in the New Guinea Islands region. He condemned such action and has appealed to the nearby communities to respect the institution and its properties.
In view of making sure that all the stakeholders and the community, they are aware of what is happening, and the schools and the education institutions should be respected in that point.
The recent incident is the fourth in a series of theft where the school lost properties, including cash, equipment and vital documents. A committee has since been set up following last Friday's meeting to deter any further incidents from happening at the school. Any further incidents of breaking and entering may prompt a more severe outcome. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Geruhu Hospital will soon have a separate building for treating tuberculosis patients. A groundbreaking ceremony was held this morning for construction to begin. Authorities say despite the availability of treatment, more people are coming in for medical attention.
According to health statistics, NCD has 42% of TB cases, the highest in the country. Most are diagnosed at the Geruhu General Hospital. This morning, a small but very significant event was held. Doctors Without Borders and the Geruhu Hospital management held hands to see the construction of the new TB clinic.
TB is one of the very, very high burden diseases, especially in NCD. And Geruhu Hospital, we are seeing a lot of TB cases, and our MSF team has been managing those cases. And as such, we are very lucky to have this hospital built. Have this ward built for this hospital.
Geruhu Hospital recorded 3,889 cases in 2018. Consultation indicate about 2,000 seeking treatment. Doctors Without Borders or MSF have been in the forefront with the government and other stakeholders to combat the endemic. The NGO has signed a MOA with the hospital to build a permanent TB outpatient and admission unit.
We have many TB cases in this country, and by just working with this temporary, because the building is not good, we need to make something which is strong and good enough to care these people. And we know that it will take time to reduce this TB burden in this country.
With the rise in cases, the new TB ward will alleviate the stress at the hospital. NCD health authorities say more work needs to be done to reduce the spread of the disease within communities.
One other thing which is working in outreach, they are going because there are some patients who are not able, they are weak, they are not strong enough to come every day here in Geruhu. They used to go to their home to get delivered to make sure that they take their treatment.
The construction of the new Geruhu TB ward is expected to complete before November this year.
The project is funded by the Child Fund, and the cost estimate will be tabled up after the project has been completed.
Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill yesterday sent a condolence message to Australia on the passing of their former Prime Minister Bob Hawke. Prime Minister O'Neill, together with Gulf Governor Chris Haiveta, sent their condolences on behalf of PNG through the Australian High Commission. Bob Hawke was known by many of Papua New Guinea's founding fathers and was seen as a great friend to PNG.
We extend our sympathies and condolences to the families, especially for their loss, and to the people of Australia. Through his leadership and, of course, work by many other Australian Prime Ministers, Papua New Guinea and Australia enjoy a very strong bilateral relationship, and it's at the back of work from people like Bob Hawke, who has been a true and great friend for Papua New Guinea. So myself and Governor Haiveta are here to pay our respects to this great man.
Government lawyers have withdrawn the stay order application to stop the vote of no confidence motion by the opposition. The application was withdrawn because the opposition withdrew the motion of vote of no confidence. The government is free to apply for another stay order if a new vote of no confidence motion is filed. You're with Wednesday's News. We'll be back with more of the day's stories after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. The Climate Change Development Authority, CCDA, is embarking on a regional consultation throughout the country. This is to discuss how stakeholders can access the Green Climate Fund and also to review the current Climate Change Management Act 2015 within the national, subnational, including district and local levels. Consultations have already started in Mt Hagen.
Climate change is real and a global issue. However, securing funding to combat it in PNG is a real challenge. The Climate Change and Development Authority is now hosting regional consultations to discuss how stakeholders can access the Green Climate Fund.
And so during those regional consultations, we will be engaging with the provincial and the district representatives, including the other stakeholders, to see where the priorities are and how we can have access to that climate finance that we really need as climate vulnerable country.
The Green Climate Fund is a fund formed within the basis of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change as an operating unit of the financial mechanism to support developing countries in adaptation and mitigation practices to counter climate change.
We would like to also strengthen the capacity in understanding the processes and procedures of the GCF. So when we are receiving projects from the provinces, we want to help them, make sure that they develop concepts, ideas that can benefit the province and that can be strategic, that can have an impact.
The workshops and consultations will strengthen the role of CCDA as the national designated authority for climate finance.
It's an act that covers all partners, and we are in this business together. So we would like everybody's input to make our act very meaningful and that can work for all of us. So this is why we have brought in the CCM Act review. In fact,
during the review of the Climate Change Management Act 2015, there are major expectations.
We are trying to realign the Climate Change Management Act to make it consistent with the other sectoral legislations as well, to ensure alignment with the Paris Agreement, so that the enabling environment is in place. And
Lilian Sopera-Kenea, National, EMTV News.
With regional consultation workshops already underway in Mt Hagen, CCDA Managing Director Roel Yamuna stressed that PNG will join hands with its Pacific neighboring countries to strengthen and amplify the voices of the Pacific. They aim to get the message across on the importance of mainstreaming climate change into planning and budgetary processes at all levels of government. CCDA requires working with all stakeholders at the national and sub-national levels. After the consultation in Mt Hagen, CCDA will be in the Momase region from the 29th to the 30th of this month, the New Guinea Islands from the 11th to the 13th of June, and the southern region from the 9th to the 11th of July. Coffee enthusiasts from around the country gathered in Port Moresby today for the start of the National Coffee Symposium. The event, an opportunity for all stakeholders within this key economic industry to come together to discuss ways to improve the performance of this commodity. Coffee enthusiasts from around PNG and overseas were in attendance for the start of the National Coffee Symposium. The event, an avenue for farmers, buyers, exporters and marketers to come together to discuss the issues of interest for this commodity and to find solutions to challenges that remain. According to Coffee Industry Corporation CEO Charles Dambui, the symposium is aimed at ensuring that all stakeholders are given an update on what the industry body, CIC, is doing, and to also get feedback from stakeholders on what they think needs to be done to improve production, quality and marketability of PNG coffee.
Basically, the purpose of this symposium is to identify where the market opportunities are, especially on the specialty coffee. From our previous national cupping competitions, we realized that many of our coffee farmers are producing coffee that is scoring high points, which is more or less into specialty grades. So that's why we are bringing the international speakers. They will be here in this two-day National Coffee Symposium to highlight some of the opportunities there for our farmers. And how do we tap into those specialty markets? Yes, our biggest market is US, followed by Germany. But traditionally, Germany used to be our biggest market. They got all our coffee and then they normally re-export again to all the EU countries. And they have maintained their market share and increasing. But we are looking at other markets that are coming, especially the specialty markets. And those markets opening up in Australia, in US and some in Japan.
The symposium also saw coffee producers from around the country attend to provide a snapshot of what they can offer. Among them, Coffee Junction, a coffee business based in Goroka. Despite being a small startup, Coffee Junction has been able to source markets in Port Moresby, which is fast becoming a lucrative market for the coffee industry in PNG.
What stands out with our product is that it's different from the rest of the product. We are only selectively roasting only the quality coffee. So we are using the raw ingredients, green coffee tasting 83 and above. We taste them and we do the roast. But our roasts are medium, controlled roast so that you have a perfect, the flavors are still intact so that once you make your coffee, you really enjoy your taste with all the flavors.
PNG LNG project operator ExxonMobil PNG has partnered with the Evangelical Church of PNG to rebuild a number of earthquake-impacted health centers in PNG LNG project areas in Hela Province. Most recently, this partnership saw the reopening of the Mananda Sub-Health Center. The center will once again provide outpatient services, inpatient wards, antenatal and postnatal care, as well as volunteering counseling and testing of HIV and AIDS. According to Sister in Charge, Betty Maga, this will now enable the provision of much-needed health services to people in this community.
Now I feel that Action is giving us a hand with our new building. More people are going to be attracted with the new building now, so they will come. Action, they donated with some things like baby delivery sets and even some food, nails and hammers and all that. So we are thankful to Action for helping us with this, our new building.
Health and HIV/AIDS Minister Elias Kapavore has signed a 1 million kina contract for Laloki Psychiatric Hospital with Edarano for a water supply project. This will see Edarano connecting a more cleaner water supply into the hospital, replacing the bore water currently used. The use of bore water had forced the shutdown of the hospital early in April due to an outbreak of hepatitis A. Minister Kapavore hopes work can commence immediately to having clean water available for Laloki.
To make sure that this funding is given to the appropriate people to make sure that we have the water source that is of quality, and making sure that we have accessible water source to this particular hospital, and we should not see any problem again in the future. My point is let's commit this funding. It's for a good cause. We have failed our hospital for the last couple of years, and my department, we admit to our failures, to our mistakes. We will definitely improve from here. We make sure that we improve the reporting channel as well. I believe that we have some issues with the operational arrangements. There are some structure at the higher level of management, how it connects to PMGH, how it connects to the NCD, how it connects to the Department of Health. It has been an issue at the moment. We have come to realize that we need to improve all those issues as well.
TYCSE students attending the Lay School of Nursing today received funding to assist them with school fees. The funding was from the TYCSE District Development Authority under its initiative to support its human resource in the district.
Today, a check of 26,200 kina was presented to the Lay School of Nursing Administration. The funding will assist 6 students from the TYCSE district with school fees. Member for TYCSE, Dr. Kobe Bomario, said the funding was at the discretion of the District Development Authority to support disadvantaged students.
We expect from you to have a positive output when we spend. It's not only us, it's going to be from other sponsors too, your parents too. You have to put a positive output in your learning, and when you come out, be a better students, a better workforce.
Since 2018, the TYCSE DDA has been supporting students in all the institutions throughout the country by meeting 60% of school fee payments on a condition that students perform to a required GPA. A third-year nursing student, Hilary Nupogo, said, with this initiative, job opportunities must also be created for them at the district level.
Vemos junto con Temolain district, Bantemolen, provincial health official, as long as they blood finish the mass, direct straight to the district.
This year, the Tewai CRC DDA has committed 15,800 kina to assist its students in institutions. So far, 43 institutions have received support under this initiative. Charlene Airy, National MTV News, Lay.
You're watching National MTV News. We go for another break. When we come back, we take a look at some stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to National MTV News. Turning overseas now to Yemen, where in the midst of famine and starvation, millions of people are spending their money on a traditional drug. CNN gained rare access inside Yemen, where much of the farmland is devoted to growing the drug when the nation really needs food.
They chew it here, they chew it there, they chew it pretty much everywhere. Yemeni studies show that up to 90% of men and 70% of women are daily users of khat. It has an effect similar to amphetamines, and amid dire predictions of famine in Yemen, it's the nation's biggest crop. This is Sanaa's khat market. So 4,000, 10,000, 15,000, 25,000. That's $5 for the cheapest bag of khat. You could feed a family for a whole day for the price of your cheapest khat. Do you think that it makes sense for Yemen that has no food for everybody to be chewing? Doesn't make sense.
A simple family can spend less than this $5 to eat.
So is it surprising then that Yemen is having a problem with hunger?
Not problem, it is a disaster. It is a disaster.
Yemen is torn by war. The north is under siege. 12 million Yemenis will be fed by the UN's World Food Programme this year. Houthi rebel ministers are aware of the problem. Well, it's very simple. Most of your land is given over to growing drugs, not food.
I agree with you. This is a bad habit that we should get rid of. This is indisputable. We have government programs to combat growing khat. We remove khat trees and plant coffee bean trees instead.
Yemen's mountain farms and terraces have been taken over by khat. It's so important to Yemenis that it's delivered the day it's picked throughout the country, driven at breakneck speeds to consumers. Up to a third of all agriculture is dedicated to the plant, which consumes a third of all water for farming. 25 years ago, this whole valley was planted with wheat, but the farmers say that that's just one crop a year. Now they get 4 crops a year from this narcotic, and in times of war, a cash crop is what really counts.
We only make a profit from khat. Other crops don't cover our home expenses. This is the only crop that would cover our daily and annual expenses.
Yemen's agriculture ministry estimates that Yemenis spend 12 billion a year on the drug. That's about 3 times the amount the UN says it needs in aid for Yemen. These figures speak for themselves.
It's been several years since the Ebola virus swept through Africa, killing thousands of people, but the fight against the disease is not over, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
If the fight against Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo wasn't tough enough, health officials say violence inside the country is helping to further spread the virus. The World Health Organization says there have been over 100 attacks on treatment centers and medical staff since the beginning of the year.
We're fighting insecurity. We're fighting violence. Every attack makes it harder to reach communities. Every attack gives the virus an advantage.
Since the outbreak began in August last year, more than 1,100 people have died, making it the second largest Ebola outbreak in history. Initially, there were high hopes of containing the virus, especially after an effective vaccine was distributed in the country. But experts say politics may have added to the tensions. The country wrapped up a national election a few months ago, with the government coming under fire for suspending the vote in some Ebola-stricken areas that were also opposition strongholds. Eastern Congo is also an area where many militias operate. So just who is coordinating the attacks against aid workers is unclear.
We have the tools to do the job. We have the surveillance, we have the vaccines, and we have a very strong team on the ground. What's really set us back has been just hugely intense bouts of violence and insecurity.
Officials say the outbreak is now spreading at the fastest rate since its inception last year. And unless medical personnel can safely get to the affected areas, the death toll could dramatically rise. And no one wants a repeat of the outbreak that ravaged West Africa just a few years ago, where over 11,000 people died.
An extremely rare event at Wellington Zoo today. One of its 2 Sumatran tigers has been put under full anesthetic to treat an ear infection. The health of the tiger, listed as critically endangered, is vital for the future of the species.
It takes a team to treat a tiger.
The main's just down to 71.
8-year-old Senya's twitchy ear has zookeepers worried.
In the last week or so, she's been indicating to us through her behaviour that she's been quite irritated by her left ear in particular.
The shaking of her head here, a sign that something's not right. So today they sedated the 90-kilogram Sumatran tiger to check it out. Having a tiger under anaesthetic is such a rarity that vets also took the opportunity to give her a head-to-tail health check. Internal organs, blood and saliva, even a dental checkup on her great big teeth and moisturising her slightly cracked paws.
She's been really stable throughout, so everything has gone according to plan.
It's vital a procedure like this does go to plan, as these animals are critically endangered.
There are fewer than 400 Sumatran tigers in the world. That's why Senya here is so important, because she's needed for breeding.
We're hoping we can actually pair her with our male Bashi that we have here at the zoo, so it's really important, obviously, for her own well-being and welfare that she's nice and healthy, but also for breeding as well.
Senya's been at the zoo for 5 years, but the careful process of introducing the 2 tigers only started a few months ago.
And Bashi, her boyfriend over there.
Her diagnosis today is an ear infection, and she's been given a big dose of slow-release antibiotics and a really good clean of her ear canal. The vets are confident she'll be a bit drowsy, but soon back to her normal self.
Here with Wednesday's news. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The SPPNG Hunters, after losing 8 matches, have made a change to the whole spine once again. This time, 2 new players are set to debut, while a former player has made his way back into the team.
It's a new-look team for this weekend's Round 11 clash against the South Logan Magpies. The Hunters were out at training yesterday with Coach Michael Marum changing the spine of the team. After joining the team last week, Terry Wapi is set to make his debut as Hunter number 82 when the team takes on the South Logan Magpies this weekend. Also returning to the team is Silas Gahuna, who will be playing at the hooker position. Marum is giving a chance to the new players to prove themselves, with Adex Wera and Ase Boas among the senior players injured.
With those other senior players, if they don't play, that should, those other new players probably can, put a claim on the jerseys they're wearing. So.
With Nick Hasu and Justin Yoka the new halves pairing, and Terry Wapi at fullback, hooker Silas Gahuna brings back the dynamic dummy half experience.
Dynamic of a dummy half, he can run, he talks a bit more. He can kick, so we got not much option when we are playing with our 9. So
his experience, something that the Hunters have been lacking.
Patrick, all those other boys, they pick up the ball, they just pass. But Salas can look up, see the space, he can get the 10 meters. And normally in the past we play him off the bench, his impact.
Marum also touched a bit on the referee's strict penalties, admitting the team had to work on their discipline.
All the teams do it. We've been really targeted heavily, so. But yeah, that's just discipline. Sometimes the boys don't listen to the referee when he's calling.
But it is obvious the team needs to overcome the referee's constant penalties.
We're playing against 13 men, but if there's a referee and linesmen on the other side, we just have to beat them too. So that's something we don't have control over. So yeah.
Fidelis Tukina, National EMTV Sports.
And the SPPNJ Hunters have released 2 more players this week due to disciplinary issues. The team has not been doing well with 8 losses from 9 games, and the team is sitting at second last on the Queensland ISC ladder.
After releasing 2 players for disciplinary issues a few weeks ago, Coach Michael Marum had no choice but to release 2 more this week. According to Coach Michael Marum, Glenn Abavu had been attending a few team sessions late, and Marum had no choice but to let him go.
Glenn just turning up late for, sessions, meetings, recoveries. So that's just not accepted.
Marum was not happy with the behavior and had a word with Abavu before releasing him.
We've spoken to him a few times already. I understand he's been attending classes too. So, but there's a couple of other boys that also attending school, but they still turn up on time and that sort of thing. So
the second player is a second-time offender, Junior Rob, who failed a mandatory alcohol test.
Junior Rob, he failed alcohol test again, so that's his second offense.
A disappointed Marum has been thrown a cluster of problems his way, from the team's poor performance on the field and now off the field as well. The team is not doing well.
At the moment we're not doing so well, so we can't allow that sort of behavior, the discipline in camp. So.
But the coach knows the players' potential and said that the team may be in future getting them back if the opportunity arises.
We can always recall those players back in if we need to, yeah.
Fidelis Tukina, National EMTV Sports.
Former Kumul Stanley Gene has been in the country for the past 2 weeks. During his time here, SP Hunters coach Michael Marum has asked Gene to speak to the team and help with training. Gene returns back to the UK on Sunday.
Stanley Gene, a familiar name in rugby league, has helped out in areas where he can, imparting his knowledge and experience to the players. The former Kumul has been part of the team of the past week, helping coach Michael Marum during training.
Michael, he said that the boys are all quite pleased with I've been around and the help that I've been given, and as I said, I'm just I'd do anything for the boys, and I'm here with my knowledge and my experience to help the boys. So I'm just more happy and obliged to help the boys.
He says the team has to know what role each member plays in the field. That is something he thinks is lacking in the team.
Once we get it, that understanding of what each player's roles are and what Coach Michael wants them to do, and I felt for Michael when I came over and joined him the first 2 sessions and then sat down with him to watch the game. It's really tough for him doing it, but I'm sure hopefully people can wait and see.
It also comes down to players' mentality and how well they prepare themselves for a match. Gene says each team member must reflect on what they have gone through during training and build on from that.
If we get these things in place, and as I said, challenge the boys that we're here 24/7, and it's not just what you learn here, but when you go back and sit around, department or the hotel, you think of what you learned today. Every session is, you don't just forget. It's your job. It's your full-time job. You pick it up and get back and, scribble down the pad or just think about it.
The team has been struggling throughout the season with 8 losses so far. It is a fairly new team which coach Michael Marum is trying to build, finding combinations and a steady structure.
Most of the main players who've been here and who built a team together have all disappeared in, just last year. So all the new guys comes in, they got to learn new structures, and it takes, probably a year, 2 years to build to be where Hunters are going to be. And as people say, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Gene will unfortunately be leaving the country on Sunday, returning to the United Kingdom, but says he will be back.
I'm enjoying this. You never know. I might go back and pack my bag and come help Michael. You never know about. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Me and Michael are getting on really well, and in the last 3 days. So
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Stay tuned, we'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports, to some sport abroad, and this is the story of Rachel Maya, the remarkable paraclimber who a few months ago opted to have a lower leg amputated to stop chronic pain. This week marked a milestone for Rachel in her journey to get back to the top.
It was always touch and go whether Rachel Maya would be able to compete at Nationals, but she's so glad she made it.
I think it's such a positive thing to be back around the climbing family. Like when I think about why I climb, it's always the people.
As the 36-year-old visualises the route she'll take for the final, it's a reminder of what a lot of her preparation has looked like.
I often go to bed and don't sleep, and then I'm lying in bed mapping out climbs or just focusing on a move that I know is hard and just doing it over and over and over again in my head.
3 months ago, the paraclimber was lying in a hospital bed, recovering from having her lower leg amputated by choice. But even then, this event wasn't far from her mind.
I 100% intend to get to New Zealand Nationals.
To make her comeback even trickier, her only big toe is also missing a piece.
A door might have whipped the toenail right back to the base of it, and I said to somebody, please could you go find my coach? I might need some tape. So that was 5 minutes before my second qualifier climb.
But not surprisingly, Rachel doesn't let it stop her. Just like a climbing accident when she was 16 didn't put her off the sport. While the final didn't go as well as she'd hoped, Nationals were part of a bigger plan. The World Championships are in 8 weeks. Last year, Rachel was the first Kiwi competitor, finishing 4th. This year, she'll switch from a reduced power category to an amputee one.
It's been tough out there. My body is definitely struggling, and I'm well aware of lots of areas to work on, but it's kind of amped me up.
And while she's trying to not put too much pressure on herself, it's unlikely she'll be putting her foot up anytime soon.
Still in New Zealand, it looks like a young sprint sensation is close to making a decision about his future, if he hasn't already. A future in the black singlet and possible black jersey is close to being locked in. One of the world's fastest teenagers is already being courted by global sponsors.
He's very quickly become the talk of New Zealand sport.
Nikita coming over the top. Nikita's going to do it. 10.
After lengthy negotiations between Eddie Osei Nkatia, his family, High Performance Sport and Athletics NZ, he'll confirm he's competing for New Zealand.
Is there any chance that we can get you in the green and gold?
I don't know. Take that as a no. The 18-year-old has been selected to compete for New Zealand at next month's Oceania Champs in Townsville and will run long-term in the black singlet. A win in the 100 metres or another impressive time, and he's set for the full World Champs at the end of September in Doha. James Dolphin sprinted at the Beijing Olympics in 2008, the last Kiwi to compete at that level.
Good thing with Eddie is that he still looks like he's got a lot of improvement in him, and he's phenomenal with his physique and his stature and how he moves is amazing.
Osei Nkatia and his handlers have also met with New Zealand Rugby, which has offered to support the teenager, with a clear view to a rugby career post-sprinting, similar to American speedster turned sevens player Carlin Isles.
He's got rocket fuel in the tank.
You see what Carlin Isles does, and that guy's got no idea on how to play rugby. So you get somebody with some rugby nous and see the damage that they could make on the rugby field, it just changed the game entirely.
One News understands the Wellington-based Scots College student is also on the verge, if not already signed up, with a global sportswear giant. Hit top times in the world rankings and other endorsements should flow. For the man who helped Jonah Lomu achieve worldwide recognition, the path is clear.
Be a Kiwi boy. Once he's got the country behind him, a good manager with his parents, he can go all the way.
One of the most exciting sporting prospects seen here for some time is set in the next 72 hours to lock in a long-term future with New Zealand.
And that's Trukai Sports for this evening. When we come back, a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. A shower or two expected in Daru and Kerma. Radiant thunderstorms in Port Moresby. Thundery showers in Alotau. Showers and cloudy weather over the next 24 hours for Papandeta. To the Momasi region, Lake can expect a shower or two. Rain and showers in Noal and some showers expected in Mt Hagen, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, thundery showers in Lorengau, rain showers in Kavieng, showers in Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and some showers and cloudy weather over the next 24 hours in Buka. And in the Highlands region, all the major centres, Mt Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mende and Wabeg can expect rain drizzle with morning fog developing. A look at the forecast for small ships, but first there is a renewal of a strong wind warning for all coastal waters. Strong southeasterly winds of 25 to 34 knots with stronger gusts reaching 48 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas and high sea swells. All small craft and boats are advised to take the necessary precautions before and after going out to sea. A look at the forecast for small craft for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island, Hood Point, Aroma Coast to Samurai Island, and waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, and waters of Finschhafen through Vitesse and Dampier Strait to CSE Island to Long Island, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Long Island to Madang, Bogia Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, sea 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands with waters of East New Britain to New Island, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters, and waters of West New Britain and Bougainville, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas rough to high seas with southeasterly winds at 25 to 34 knots with stronger gusts reaching 48 knots. Solomon Sea, seas rough with southeasterly winds at 25 to 34 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 34 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas light with southeast to westerly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that's the way it is today, Wednesday, the 22nd of May 2019. On behalf of the entire MTV News team right around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.